pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the March 18th, 2021 Village Board meeting to order. Roll call shows that everyone is present except Jane, the clerk, and she has been excused. Lauren is taking the notes in her place. 3, any agenda changes?
Yeah, I would suggest that we move H up above A, just to, so that the people in attendance, including the officers from Allegheny, don't have to stay here for the whole meeting.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Then we will go to number 4.
Jeannie, excuse me, you're having trouble hearing in the back.
Oh,
Sorry, we just said we're gonna move up the discussion about the county police services proposal discussion to first. So that way the people that are here, won't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Okay, then we will go to 4, consent agenda. A, March 4th, 2021, regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits. There are none. C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. Are there any questions? If
Did
not,
we
I
get-
will need a motion.
Did we get that in our packet?
Did you get what in the packet?
The financial information?
That was
It came
a
separate.
separate email.
Separate email from
Oh,
Libby.
okay.
Jane's out of the office, so.
I came from Libby. I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second,
Roll call. We'll start with Peter.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Lauren, can you check if there's anyone that signed up? Please.
I think there's only one in this first session.
Rick Grunwald, 215 South Street.
If anyone would like some agenda, there's extra copies up here.
Okay. On March 8th, I attended the safety meeting to listen to the police service proposal by the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department. I listened, and after going home and digesting the information, I find I have quite a few opinions and questions. First of all, I applaud the board for looking into cutting expenses if that indeed is the purpose here. But it does seem to me that we looked at this 3 to 4 years ago and came to the conclusion that the savings, if any at all, were insignificant. Second, the presenter of this proposal said that a village of this size would only need one officer on duty at all times. Now, I don't know for sure. I don't think he lives here. And I would be interested to know how many shifts he has worked here and how many residents he has talked to come to this conclusion. What happens if the county discovers they do need more than one officer on at a time? Has anyone gone to Freedom, Combined Locks, or the town of Buchanan, and all the others and talked to the residents to see how pleased they are with the service? Naturally, with only one person on duty, there would be significant savings compared to what the village department does now. Perhaps the chief should be allowed to make her own proposal with only one person on duty at a time. Only thing is, I'm worried about the fall off in protection and services as a result. Third, if we do go the county route with our police protection, how much is the village going to lose in revenues and grant money that comes with having our own police department? Fourth, will this impact at all the cost to taxpayers? A big number for savings savings looks great on paper, but will the taxes per $100,000 go down? If not, then why is this proposal even being considered? Or will the village apply these savings to another area? Fifth, right now, I assume our police force has a budget, and that budget is overseen by the chief and probably others. If you decide to go the county route, who oversees their expenditures? Probably not someone from Hortonville, and therefore we lose control, total control. Plus, the presenter states the proposal was just an estimate and probably could be slightly higher. How much higher? Also, what is the duration of the contract? I want to make sure that we dot our I's and cross the T's before making this agreement. I myself have failed in the past to do that a couple of times in hiring people who told me I can do better for less, and it came back to haunt me. Last, does this meet the comprehensive plan guidelines? I thank you for your time. I probably missed some important details. I just thought of one back there, the school liaison officer, but hope you consider all angles. I want to make sure this is not some reflex action taken with little thought of the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Is there anyone else that signed up to speak? If not, we'll move to 6, committee reports. A, library board.
We met last Tuesday. Excuse me just a second here. We completed Ally's annual review evaluation with feedback from her staff, the other library staff, evaluations from all board members, and we had a discussion, including Ally, the whole time. Prior to the closed session, we discussed reopening plans, sale of capital assets, furniture, shelving, that type of thing, and move to reinstitute the fine policy that was on hold during COVID. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Pat. B, public safety committee, and we will be discussing that below. So then we will move on to 7, unfinished business from previous meeting. There is none. 8, new business. We will then move H to county police service proposal discussion.
Okay, so I'll start this off. So we had a public safety meeting, and the purpose of the meeting was to gain some education about the option available with the county sheriff's office. I have been asked hundreds of times about the costs from the county. Specific questions are, why does Greenville not have a police department? What do they pay? Why don't we do this? What's the difference in the cost? And the entire time that I've been on the board, I didn't have an answer to that. So with the timing of the police contract up for renewal and the amount of money that we're spending, I saw it as our due diligence to do the research to find out what options are available and for us to determine what the best overall service for the village would be. All right, so where are we at now? So first off, if there's a couple of members who were not there, so if you haven't had a chance to view the video, I don't think we can have a meaningful discussion until you've actually seen the presentation from the county. But we have received an initial proposal with services and costs and a presentation from the county of the services. I think that from this point, we should probably proceed to the next level and do a fair and accurate comparison between the services that we currently have and the costs compared to the presentation that we've been provided to make an educated decision. So in order to make a fair comparison, I believe at this point the board needs to direct Nathan to provide an audit-like accounting of the police enforcement costs. including and not limited to any requested paperwork and receipts from any one of the board members who has questions about the existing costs. He has provided some information, some of which seems accurate, some of which was questioned, and we have not received answers to the questions. So it's, at this point, we don't have the, we can do a services comparison, but we don't have an accurate accounting, like an audit level accounting without estimates of what something was worth or things of that nature, to be able to do a apples to apples comparison, because it is services and it is cost. It is convenience, it is community involvement, it encompasses a lot of things. One of the things that it does encompass is the expense. And if we don't have a fully comprehensive, like I said, the term I'm using is an audit style accounting, we can't do a comparison. I'll give you an example so that everybody understands why I'm asking the board to direct Nathan to do this. One of the things he's been asked by myself and by Jeannie was about inquiring about the insurance for the police department vehicles. We currently have numbers from Nathan which were questioned, that we pay $991 a year for all of our automobile insurance. That would be, and which is a, you know, I can tell by your face, I'm looking at this like, I don't know that doesn't seem right to me. So as a board member, I can't direct Nathan without the board directing Nathan to provide these information to individual board members that request it. I can't direct him to go get that invoice and show it to me. So I think at this point, we need to provide a directive, a time limit, or at least a starting time limit, before we can move forward with an equal comparison between the finances. We can talk about the differences between what the services that we currently get and what the services that the county has presented that they can provide, but that's only part of it. I would recommend that first off, we get a very accurate, or as accurate as possible, accounting, and that each of the board members do their own research and their own reaching out to the community and deciding on their own. Because of the size and the importance of the size of the budget and the importance of the decision as to what to do, I don't see this happening on a timeline that is before the next election, right? So, because we only have one more meeting before the next election. So my suggestion moving forward would be that we get the finances, so that way we can do a nice apples to apples comparison, and two, we add this to a future agenda to have a more detailed discussion.
The committee of the whole.
A committee of the whole, yes, sir.
Jim, I got a question for you. I mean, is there information that you asked for and you feel as a sole board member you can't receive? Because if I need something, I do an open record request. I do them all the time. I'm sure the village will tell you. I do open record requests to obtain what I'm looking for.
And I had all the numbers, even the numbers you
I
asked.
asked for it, Jeannie asked for it, I don't wanna argue this with you, Nick.
I know.
I asked for it and I didn't receive anything. I asked for it and you said, yeah, that's it. That was the
Right.
answer I got back. I don't wanna I don't wanna turn it into an argument, but what I do wanna do is
But
I
you
wanna
are. Here
I
are
wanna have
numbers.
numbers that
And be very
are
careful not to use
solid.
the word "we," because anytime I want information, I do an open record request, and I look for what I need. Be careful when you say "we" all the time, and that's where I take issue right now, Jim. Please don't use the word "we." Yes, I'm a
I use
board
the
member.
word "we" in the term "we," I think that we as a board should direct Nathan to provide this information without having to do an open records request to each and every one of us as we find information that we would like more detailed about this particular topic.
Have
Because
we ever
each of us
looked
is
at
not
that?
in the position to direct him to
Yeah.
do that.
So
But
I'm
as a
thinking
board,
what we
We
normally
are.
get quarterly, that, what am I thinking, what we use for the budget?
Financial,
The financial report.
yeah.
Are
Yes.
those items specifically on that financial report that would answer some of these questions, that we could ask for specific receipts or whatever?
Well, I brought the whole insurance packet last time. I thought they wanted to look at it. They didn't want to, or they didn't know, I guess, that I
It
had
didn't
it.
come
Yep.
up.
Right, because we didn't talk about
I think
finances
what-
last meeting.
You know, I think what we would like to do as a board, okay, because like Jim said, this is a budget thing. This is taxpayer money. We want the most bang for our buck. What we would like to see is a question and an answer between the county and our police department to the public. Ask the public to come in. We do this with planning Alonzo, we do this with planning a road, we do this with, you just said with the highway, with doing the downtown, we want public input. Let's get public input.
But we need to
Let's hold a
provide them.
committee of the whole, like, let's say, down the road, let's do it in a month. You can't do it by the next meeting.
Then
You can't.
We're gonna lose the.
It would be
We're gonna
impossible.
lose the SRO then,
But you would need to,
just saying.
No, we have till June, July.
June is when their budget,
Yeah.
July is when their budget starts.
Okay, so we have
They
till
need-
June.
yeah.
Right, but they need to pass it by their board as well. We still need to have it passed by our board. The-
I mean, I'm
And-
getting
and this is-
information, Jim.
And this would be the reason for my request that the board make a directive, that we don't have to go through the red tape of open records, waiting for things of that nature.
Could
I can
I,
get it for
could
you
I
in a minute.
speak?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
as,
Sure.
so Peter and I are the only ones that aren't on the Public Safety Committee. So at the last village board meeting, prior to that was March 4th, I attended by phone. I knew there was a Public Safety Committee meeting to address labor negotiations. Am I correct?
Yes.
So then, I received the agenda, I'm gonna take my mask off if that's okay, because I think I'm far enough away. Received the agenda, and on it was the contract with the county. I have nothing against the county, in fact, I worked with two of you guys in my prior life, Corey and Ryan. I was like, what is this about? And I just, questions, again, nothing against the county. The timing of it, why didn't this come up at budget time? Why didn't you express or have any questions during budget discussions last fall? Nothing came up, we passed the budget. The transparency scares me, the lack of transparency. I was like, where did this come from? Between March 4th, when the village board met, and then the public safety, March 8th, and I could not attend. I had a prior obligation I couldn't change. I did watch the video. Why wasn't anybody told about it?
I
And
believe
again,
why this came to a head, maybe you might say, is because we are in a contract year. You aren't gonna do this next year if we sign a contract with the PD, because then we would be going against their contract. This is our one opportunity right now to look at all of our expenses for police coverage.
okay.
So
If
now
budget-
it comes
just-
up,
I'm sorry,
because
Beth,
then it
you
would
were
go into
asking-
this year's budget.
Okay,
Well,
but I
if we
guess I
would go
would,
with the county, or if we keep our PD, it would be in this year's
Yeah, it
budget
doesn't affect the budget that we're under now.
for
okay,
2022.
I understand that, but there weren't even any rumblings prior to this. And I'm putting myself in the position of Chris and the other officers. They're coming in for labor negotiations on March 8th. And all of a sudden, they find out that they might not have jobs. I mean, that's on the agenda. That was my first, like, oh my God, what are we doing to our officers? And how does that impact the rest of the staff, the rest of the village staff? If we as a board, and I don't even want to say we, because I was not involved in this. I was, I was just shocked that that anybody would do that. That all of a sudden this was on the agenda. So just lack of respect for our employees was just really disheartening to me.
Well, I understand.
I'm speaking,
Yeah.
just let me finish,
Okay, go
please,
ahead.
because I've been, sitting on this. The respect, it's almost like this is hanging over their head going into labor negotiations, like, okay, do we buckle here because I might not have a job? I'm just thinking, in their heads. the pressure, job security, are we destroying any loyalty that our officers and other employees may have to the village because of these actions? I just, and then, you know, I think back on the fact that we passed a raise for our board members, for our board. I voted against it. I know, I understand we were low paid compared to other villages, but then we're thinking of saving money by not having our local police force. So there's, I'm just really not happy about the way this whole thing panned out. I think it could have been brought up in a very respectful way last fall during budget talks, not at the last minute and just at the committee level. I think it should have been presented at a board meeting, at a full board meeting, like saying, if Jim, you have this concern, you should have said, you know, I think we should go out for a bid from the county.
That's the
Bring
point
it
of
up
a
at the
public
whole-
safety meeting.
Pardon me?
That's the point of the public
But
safety
you-
meeting, is to address issues before they come to the board.
But this is a pretty big deal.
So
I
if it's a
mean,
big
think
issue, you're
of-
not supposed to, that's even more reason to address it before it comes to the full board, is to try to hash things out.
I
There
beg
is
to
no-
disagree with you.
I
mean,
completely
think of-
understand
I
the
think of
concerns
things
with the
that-
personnel.
I think of things that we brought to full board meetings, and I thought it was ironic that when you introduced the hearing on March 8th, you mentioned the well inspection.
No, I did not. I mentioned the dam inspection.
I'm sorry, the dam, not the well. That we wanted another estimate besides the 2,300. Agreed, that was at a full board meeting, that we asked for another one.
That
But
wasn't the
something-
point of that. The point of that was, Carl has been here for more than 2 decades, right? And he's as most people would think, he's a very trusted individual in the village. He provided a quote, told us as the board, this is the best quote you're gonna get. It's less than what we paid last year. And we still told him, go out and get another quote, and the reason in my mind that we tell him to do that is because it's not our money. And we don't get to decide, even though he told us it's the best we're gonna get. We said, go get another quote
I'm
to
not
verify that.
I'm not-
That was the point of that example. And I understand, and I know that bringing this up is a strain on personnel.
But
And
isn't
I
that
didn't
pretty-
see any way around that. If you could have explained, if you could have come up with a way that people wouldn't be offended, I don't see one. But the point of this, the point of that whole discussion was to find out if we are getting the best service that we can possibly, because Chris is here, and I almost guarantee she would say, you're getting the best service from us.
But
Right?
did you
But
even
we
go-
won't take his word, but you say you want to take her word without looking into it at all, and that's all I said we were doing. I have my statement. I said, this is not a meeting to determine the future of the Hortonville Police Department. This is an informational meeting to investigate options that are available to ensure that we as a village are providing the best services available.
The timing
It's
is
not
bad.
for money. The
that's
timing is based off of the union contract.
But Jim,
It
you
is
knew
not
that-
based off of last year's budget. It is based off of next year's budget, so there's no reason to bring it up last year.
Excuse me, though, in that short a period of time, but we knew those negotiations were coming up for how long? So why wait till a few days? Out of respect, wouldn't you have gone to Chris or whoever else involved and say, you know, I really have a question, like we did with Carl, about wanting another estimate? I just think it was totally disrespectful.
Well, that's why
Before
we're here
Carl brought that
tonight.
estimate,
And
I'm
we
not yelling
were-
at you, Pat, I'm speaking loudly
We
so people
asked-
can hear.
we
We
asked
asked
the
Carl
whole board
after
to
he
be
brought us
there.
the estimate to get us another one. So
Well,
the
you know,
contract came to us and I said, okay, is this the best deal? Is this the best deal and the best services that we're going to get? Let's find out.
Okay,
Pat,
Jim, my point is that we, as a whole board, talked about that, and I agree. It's important to get another estimate. Why did your idea to go out and ask for a proposal from the sheriff's department not get presented at the March 4th meeting? I guess and then 4 days later, it's on the Public Safety Committee meeting, and I could not be here, otherwise I would have been here.
When we set that meeting, we set it as we were doing contract negotiations.
Mhm.
I, as a public safety committee member, did not know that the county proposal was on there till I was emailed that agenda. The timing of it, in my opinion, because then I'm getting resident phone calls, I'm getting people contacting me and saying, what in the hell is going on here?
Rightfully so, everybody was
And I don't have an answer for them, Jim, because I hadn't read my email yet. I'm getting staff phone calls, and I hadn't even read my email yet. I feel like this is being shoved down our throats at the very last minute. You just pointed out, we'd have to do this, we can't get it done before the election. I just feel like the timing of this, something's fishy.
There's nothing fishy.
The
It's
timing
just
of
like
it,
every
Jim-
other meeting. It's publicly posted. I'm sorry I didn't let you know earlier, Julie.
But I'm on the committee,
I
there's other committee
apologize
members.
for not letting you know earlier. But it's not anything sneaky, underhanded, dirty, nobody is intentionally trying to get rid of the police department. If you were going to spend $700,000, $800,000 of my money, I would expect anyone out there to do their research, to find out if you're spending it wisely.
But
That
your
was the
timing of
reason
this
for
right
bringing
now,
them
Jim,
in.
might be the reason why we lose an SRO contract. Your timing of this could have been done earlier if you had concerns, which you did have. You got one night where you were quite upset about something, and then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, we're doing this. So my feeling on this is why, if we know that we may lose something out of this, can this be discussed at, 6 months prior to contract negotiation, not at the time of contract negotiation?
It could have, so you're questioning my timing of, not
The
that we did it.
timing, and the
Not that we
timing
did it,
and
you
the-
just wanted to do it earlier.
And the fact that I have your neighbors, I have citizens who have spoken directly to you, and people that are calling me and saying, what the heck is going on here? I didn't know that was even on the agenda. It was already a buzz before I even read the email. So
We do add things to the agenda after.
we add things. This is a
we add
really
things
big thing
after
to add
the
to the
fact.
agenda.
You know, I'd like to just say a couple of words. I've been on this board, I think, going into my 7th year. We went through this whole thing about 3-4 years ago. At that point in
2017.
time, we decided just to stick with the village officers. We did research the county. We thought we could provide, at that time, we could provide better response time, better coverage. But I think going forward, maybe what we should do is, I know the timing isn't right, but maybe what we should do is do a full accounting of their expenses for the last year, for 2020, and then compare it to what the county's proposing. We did that last time, and I know that it wasn't apples for apples, but
Did you get this?
no, I did not get that.
And that's the thing. We're discussing this tonight. The numbers
Yeah,
are here.
yeah,
So
I know,
it'd be nice
I
if you
know,
had that.
but I think right now what we should do is maybe move this to a committee of the whole meeting after we get a true cost accounting from Nathan.
And we're missing some stuff, I think, from the county that you had asked for specifically.
I asked
Yeah.
for specific stuff from the county and I never.
This
I
is
haven't
not
gotten
gonna
it.
be decided tonight.
Okay, and then I
would-
just
I
wanna
would make a
also point
suggestion
out,
to that,
Jim,
is that we do like a 3-year, instead of a 1-year, because of COVID hit. This year there are anomalies in this year because of expenses and, different impacts from COVID.
You know, we can go on for the next hour arguing this whole point, but
correct.
this isn't the time to do this. I need numbers. We need to take a look at maybe 2 years,
Right
maybe
here.
not
Yep,
3.
something of
Just
that nature.
something to
Can we make
compare
sure
to.
that citizens know that if they didn't sign up to talk tonight, they haven't lost their chance? Item 11 on our agenda is comments and suggestions from public. So if you have something more you want to say after we've had this discussion, yes, we can do a committee of the whole, we can do all of that, push this off even further, so it's even more of a last minute decision. There is another opportunity for you to speak if you so choose. Because the phone calls that I'm getting, the messages that I'm getting are such a very different view. There's people that, are being told that incidents that are happening in the town of Hortonville or the town of Ellington, that our police aren't getting there fast enough. What?
All right,
Why do we
Julie,
care?
Julie, let's cut this.
I say
I would make a
Just
we,
respectful.
we get numbers, we hold a public meeting, open to the public,
After,
after we
After
have our
we
numbers,
Right.
and,
Is that next
we
week
do
then?
apples to apples with the county, and we do a question and an answer. If people have questions I think Rick brought forward. He has a lot of questions.
Yeah, Bob, do
So
we
I
need a vote
feel
on this? Do
Nathan,
need-
We
need
should
to
be
make a
able
motion or
to
just
ask the county to
recommendation?
answer and our police department to answer.
I think there should be both.
All right, I'm gonna make,
One question, Nathan, when do we need to let the school district know? Because when we scheduled this, which is
They're
like,
wondering where it is because we talked, Todd, Tim and I in January. And
Okay.
he said that they weren't planning on going out for an RFP
Mhm.
because they liked our service. But the longer we wait, the more we might push them to go out for an
Correct.
RFP.
And now you've got obviously the Allegheny County Sheriff here hearing all that,
So
so.
then
I'm
basically,
gonna-
what you're saying is we should just rubber stamp their contract and say,
No.
okay,
No,
give them what they want.
that's what later.
Let's go.
That's what our closed session
That's
is
not
about,
right either.
Jeannie. Our closed session this evening is contract negotiations. There's certainly no rubber stamp. How many hours were we here the other night? 4 hours? Certainly there was no rubber stamp. And I'm not asking for rubber stamp. I just don't wanna lose something because we're taking it down to the last minute. So if we are truly gonna have an, open, committee of the whole, then we need to have it way sooner than later.
let me make the motion,
Okay?
please. Please let me make a motion.
Thank you for letting me finish my thought.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we task Nathan to present to us at a committee of the whole meeting a complete cost accounting of, for the past 2 years. That would be 2019 and 2020.
Could you
the-
include Chris in that, please? Nathan and Chris?
What?
Wouldn't Chris be involved in that too?
Well, yeah, but Nathan could call whoever he needs.
Okay.
Nathan would head that up. And then present it to us at a committee of the whole meeting next week.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we will move to B, Badger Advanced Metering Infrastructure AMI Technology Purchase.
We're skipping
Skipping
A. We have A, so.
We have A.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed A.
Sorry.
Wastewater Treatment Plant Ultraviolet Disinfection System invoice.
We have to do some repairs to our UV system. There's some bulbs out and some other equipment. Again, this is one-off equipment. It's not something you can go down to anywhere around here and buy. So all the parts are pricey. Again, the expense is $6,396 is the reason I'm bringing it before the board. There's a memo in your packet from the superintendent. Again, this is the year we evaluate our fecal coliforms that are discharged from the wastewater plant. So it's important that we get a base understanding of running at peak efficiency as far as the ultraviolet disinfection of our wastewater. So we want to replace any bad bulbs we have, or update any sensors. Again, it's about 10 years old, that equipment now, so we want to, we've got a few bad bulbs, but unfortunately everything's so darn expensive on it. So we're going to tune it up, get everything working 100%, and then we're going to evaluate our fecal coliform discharge over the summer and determine if we have to spend another $1 million down the road to improve that. Hopefully we don't have to. So, again, the DNR tightening up rules for E. coli. Those are new rules coming down. Phosphorus discharge rules are coming down in a couple of years. Again, we want to improve the equipment and get it up to speed so we know where we're at as far as ultraviolet disinfection. So.
These are all just parts for existing equipment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hoping we can meet the projected limits. And we have limits, but they're not enforceable right now. They know where we want to be as far as E. coli discharge. So we want to get this machine tuned up so we don't have to spend money later. So this is just basically maintenance.
Carl, how much is the reduction in limits?
I know I have it in front of me. I don't even have the,
Okay.
I think right now it's 400, micrograms or however you're,
And what do we normally run?
we're in the hundreds. So we're in pretty good shape, but they're, I don't even have the number in front of me.
That's okay. Okay.
You looking for a motion, right,
questions?
Carl?
I'm looking for a motion to, yeah, on the bottom of the sheet I handed out. So a
Okay, motion to approve, you call that
Xylem?
Xylem?
Xylem, yeah.
UV system parts invoice in the amount of $6,396.
Second.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. We'll now go to B, Badger Advanced Metering Infrastructure AMI Technology Purchase.
Yeah, I'll take this one as well. Right now, we use a Galaxy remote reading software system. We started investing in this about 13 years ago. We are still going to get the full life of it for our meter system. We expect it to go 20 to 25 years, but from this point forward, we want to transition all new meter purchases into the Beacon, which is another Badger product. Badger meters are made in Wisconsin. Again, the Beacon software is a different technology. Technology has gotten away from the transmitters and what do you call it, retransmitters, things on the tower. We've had those fail 3 times over the last 10 years, and it's always at the worst time. Again, this new technology uses cellular endpoints. There's a set fee per meter, but again, what we're looking for is from this point forward, we're going to go with the new meters that have this new technology. There's no big investment. We're just going to continue to replace meters as we normally do, or supply new meters to new residences as we normally do. But the software purchase is $6,500. This will allow Lisa and the utility billing to incorporate both software programs into the Badger Beacon software.
So this a yearly contract then, Carl?
No, this is a one-time purchase of the software.
Okay,
So
It's for reading these meters.
okay.
Again, the cellular endpoints, the meter readings go through the ether down to, and then they come up here to her computer somehow.
Does this ping, because we've had some issues with some water, like excessive water usage. on
Yeah,
some of
it's
the
better at
property.
that.
So I was wondering if
Yeah.
it was better at
Yeah.
that, if it
Yeah.
pings more frequently.
Yeah. It won't ping us at home or anything like that, but you can check it in the morning.
So there's no additional like cellular fee or anything like that
There will be. It'll be like $8 a year per unit.
per unit? And how much is is there any fee for is there any fee for what we have now? For the,
No, but
other than the cost of the repeater being serviced and replaced?
yeah, the repeater on the tower. Last time we had it get struck by lightning, it was about this much to replace. So
Okay.
we won't have we'll still maintain that repeater on the tower until it fails, but instead of spending $6,500 for it, we'll probably just go buy a remote where you drive around and you can get the last few readings, and that's just that's less than $1,000. So as the old system dies out, we're going to go back to the drive around readings of them. Right now they go to the tower and then they're converted from there to cellular and sent in. But we'll evaluate that whether or not we want to replace that. The problem is the technology for that. They're getting away from that repeater stuff. So I'm transitioning. So we can milk out our current system as long as possible, but it may come a time where we have to actually go out and drive around and read them just to get the extended life out of it.
Yeah. So does the extra $8 a year go on everybody's water bill then?
We'll absorb it right now.
So we're gonna absorb that?
Yeah, yeah, we're not raising rates while I'm here.
Okay.
All right.
You're looking for a motion?
I'm looking for a motion to approve the Badger AMI technology purchase.
Motion to approve Badger AMI technology purchase in amount of $6,500.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. C, No Mo May Initiative.
I'll take this one as well. We had talked about this last year, I believe, Julie, and we've also had a professor of biology over at Lawrence University reach out and ask if we can participate in this program. Basically, it's a board promoting what we call No Mo May. It allows your vegetation, your grasses to grow up and offer life-sustaining nutrients to bees and other critters like that.
We did it last year, without it being a village thing.
Yeah.
And we made it right to the very end of May. It was pretty long, but it just allowed allowed the grasses to grow, and it would just suspend our ordinance, right? Is what we're talking about doing for that month.
Right. Yeah, they're asking, at least the professor or that organization is asking that we do a resolution. I don't think we did that last year, did we, Bob? We didn't do that.
No.
we just made it, we looked the other way. And so I don't know if you guys wanna do a full resolution, or if you just wanna, you know, give people the nod to,
Well, Appleton does it, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be pretty simple to tweak it, I would think.
yeah, we
When
can
does the
have
village-
one for the next
It
meeting.
sends a good message, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
When does the Village Voice come out?
It's too late now.
So they-
Oh,
It's just too late for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just know like Appleton, yeah, they put on there, like on their social media, they advertise it as no mow May. I don't know if a resolution is necessary, but I think we should definitely, promote it.
I think that's what the resolution, it kinda unifies us with Appleton and other communities. That's the point of the resolution.
It's not gonna hurt anything, so is it that you wanna bring a resolution to the next meeting, or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, then we will move on to D, request for proposal for legal services.
This is to replace Bob when he retires. I put it together, and I think the question, before sending it out, I was gonna ask on the tentative schedule, if that was something you guys wanted to keep for those dates, or any other changes you wanna make.
When's the official date, Bob?
Call it June 30.
Okay,
I
think for
think for purposes of what we're talking, it'd be June 30.
I think that kind of falls in this timeline.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on it?
Not really, I mean,
Okay,
no.
just a head nod to go
Yeah, if
ahead.
you guys are fine with those dates.
Everyone's in agreement. Did you see the dates on the back page?
How many firms are we looking at?
I don't know. You put out an RFP, I send it out to a few of them and see what we get back,
Okay.
so.
Does this cover everything, Bob? Did you?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was.
So it's a go-ahead?
Yeah.
All right. We'll move to E, Appleton Alliance contract discussion.
So this is just, to see if you guys are wanting to submit this to Appleton Alliance at this time.
Has anything changed since the last time that we looked at this?
Not since the December date. The only thing I added in since then was the pricing. And that pricing was something that was talked about. I don't know if that pricing is good for you, to submit to them initially.
Yeah, I forget when we did things, but, the other thing we did, and I don't know how recent it was, Nathan, was the assignment or subletting portion.
I think we were gonna remove,
We
the-
removed
it.
we
Yeah.
removed the wording
So,
about,
right,
yeah.
so paragraph 12 simply says they're leasing the premises and, they're responsible in that regard.
But we removed any wording regarding the Legion or the Historical Society,
Right,
just removed
because
it.
of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
the ambiguity of it, yeah.
Yep.
You know, one thing we should note, should there not be pictures of the Opera House? I mean, anytime someone rents a home, you take pictures. When they leave that home, you take pictures. Is there anything that we need to do as a protective thing to say, okay, this is how this was when you entered this building?
We could.
It might not be a bad idea because it's a historical building to have a record of the interior and exterior of the building, so.
Should it
If
not be
anything gets
noted in
changed.
here?
We can take pictures, but I think it, doesn't it say that all changes should come through Public Works?
Yep. that would-
I don't think it has to be noted, I think that is.
think-
Just something we should maybe
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, just to
I
make sure
agree.
there are no changes, I guess.
No,
That's
I
a good
agree.
idea.
And
Yeah.
then the other thing is on, we have the Schedule A, before this is executed, whatever equipment we have that is worthy of being mentioned should be on that schedule. Anything that's included, we're talking the kitchen, right, certain things?
Kitchen, toiletries, all
Right.
that should be in there.
Right, so we should do an inventory.
Well, maybe not toiletries. They agreed to pay toiletries and pick up those costs. But we'll certainly do an,
Equipment audit.
yeah, we call them an audit. Well, then we'll do an inventory, what we got in there. make sure.
And then it'll be added to this
Yeah.
and Schedule A.
Yep,
And you'll bring this forward at the next meeting then to vote on?
yeah,
Okay.
well,
You had April 4 as the,
yeah.
you were thinking of approval?
I think initially I was gonna submit it to them and see what they think,
Okay.
based on it. Unless you guys want me to have it passed through you first and then go to them, because they have a board as well, so they have to get it passed through theirs. If they disagree with something, then it's gonna, yeah, so it's up to you guys how you wanna do it.
And we could correct it next week and then vote on it.
Sure.
Have it added with, if they have changes or if we do.
Yeah,
Okay,
it should be presented to
Correct?
them early, yes.
right, okay. Sounds
Okay?
good. Yep.
Is everyone okay with that? Okay, then we'll move to F, administrator review discussion.
So the one review thing I added to the packet, that was from it was something that Dave Tebow, when he was here, handed me before he left. I just put it into, I had to retype it, and he just handed me a sheet, so, if you have any questions on that, or how you want to do it, or when.
I've noticed that a couple of these really can't be answered by board members. I don't know what your day-to-day interaction
Right.
with your employees are, so if I were to fill this out, because you say
Right.
up at the top, if, identify who you are.
Yeah.
So if I fill this out, I'll just probably have to just take,
You skip it, or, yeah. Cause I mean, the department heads will all review me.
Right.
And then any staff that wants to will be open to review me, and write any notes in there. And basically, it would be run similar to the library board, so we would probably put Jane or someone else in charge of it, of the envelope. The envelope gets submitted then to Jeannie, once it's all by a certain date, and then you guys and I will go into a closed session, and you guys can open it, review it, or, I don't know how Pat and them actually do it in their closed session, but,
I picked up the evaluations from the staff and collated them all onto one form with comments, so it was all anonymous. And then Ally also does her self-evaluation, which
I
is
was
one of
just
the
gonna
things
say
I was
that.
gonna ask. if
I
you
was
were-
just gonna ask that.
Okay.
I think you should evaluate yourself
Yeah.
too, to see how it compares to
Mhm.
everyone else and see if you have the same trajectory of goals as the other folks and where you think that you need to improve is the same, because I think that's important.
Have any of you seen the library
Yes.
I have not.
eval? Okay, I like it much better than what Nathan handed us, for the simple fact, I don't like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To me, I think what you have here is E for excellent, S satisfactory, N needs improvement, U unknown. To me, this tells us more than saying, oh, let's give them a 1 or a 2. What does that really mean?
that's fair.
You know, I don't know. To me, I like the libraries. I like that, is this not kept confidential?
Yes,
Yes. So therefore, we should not be saying that we are a general employee, a department head, or a village board member. You should not.
well,
I
I
just-
guess I should correct that. We do separate the board's eval from the staff's. They had different questions. So,
So basically, we need to work on this a little more, maybe?
I have a suggestion, and that is, because you've only been doing this for like 90 days,
Yeah.
a lot of this is very, very specific. Excuse me. And a lot of the stuff on here, I think, will be more beneficial after like a year, right? I think at this point, there should be some open-ended, in terms of the evaluation, because at a 90-day review, in my opinion, what you're trying to do is figure out, okay, what does everybody think I'm doing really well? And then what do people think I'm not doing well? And how can I improve on those things, right? So, and this isn't structured in a way to do that. It's not open-ended, like, okay, so what is the thing, if you ask me, what is the thing that I think Nathan is doing the best, right? I can fill this out and say, this is what I think you do great, right? And then you ask me, what is the thing that I think Nathan could really improve improve on or needs to work on. Then I can, and it's not necessarily covered in these very specific questions.
Okay.
So I would like to see something a little bit more open in there to be able to provide that feedback.
Okay.
And then you will be able to look at those and say, what can I do to meet those expectations?
I agree.
Could we not all email him and say, okay, this is what we'd like to see, like you just said. I would like to see, this. Jim may have a different question. You could put them out there and then put this on a sheet and we could go from there.
I agree. Sounds
So
good to me.
let's do that by, say, Monday?
Well,
And don't forget
you can give yourselves a little more.
Yeah.
And don't,
Well,
don't forget,
no, I mean,
Right.
the questions to you, and then you do the form, and then we fill it out.
but I also think that you should look at yourself for questions too, at what you
Oh, I know.
want, you know,
I've
'cause it's
been
not
there.
just what we think, it's,
Yeah.
or what,
Right.
it's what you think too, that's
Right.
important.
I agree.
So,
That sounds better. Yeah, that PA, throw that away.
it doesn't fit for what
So-
we wanna do in 90 days.
So by Monday, I should email Nathan with like a question that I would want everybody,
To answer.
but maybe I have a different question for the board versus a question for staff, right?
So should
Or
we
are we
have
doing
two-
separate?
You want two separate forms?
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes more sense.
Because I can think of something on the staff's behalf, but I can also think of something on the board's behalf,
Sounds
so,
good.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, they should be very different reviews from different perspectives.
Yep.
So, does Monday give us enough time, or Tuesday, email him the questions we would like to see?
Did you have a question, Pat?
I wanted to, you mentioned the library one, do you want me to send each of those to
That
the
would be
board?
great,
Just
Yeah.
so you,
It's a good
okay.
reference.
Yeah, that would be a good start.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
Because I do like this form.
Obviously, it's for the library, but I think
Yeah.
there's some,
Yeah.
the way it's scaled out, okay.
Yeah, the more options, the better our choices
Yeah.
to work off of.
And then are we going to then, once we decide, you put it together, email it to everyone, say, okay?
Yeah.
And then we fill it out, then that's when we go through and say, let's schedule this
Right.
eval.
Well, and we want to give staff enough time too, if you want them to
Right.
do some of the eval as well, so, yeah,
Yeah,
sounds good,
so bring it back to the next board meeting and then schedule your review after that.
sounds good.
So
Is that
who's
okay
gonna-
with everyone?
When we submit these, who's going
It
to see
should go to
them?
you,
Me,
and then she'll compile
So
the summary.
they're all going to go to you, and then that's it?
yes.
Okay.
And we should get that in it before the review, because we should get the
Plus
summary.
one more.
Plus one more.
You should have somebody else with you.
Yeah, it should be two people,
Yeah,
So
it
you're
should
not
be.
accused of,
yeah.
Yeah,
It's for your own safety, you should have two people.
I would prefer 2 people,
yeah,
so,
If you want me, I can do it, just let me know.
not a board member.
No, okay,
I agree. I think
Nope.
it should be.
What do
well,
you mean not board
can't be
member?
general, it's closed session, so it can't be
Yeah.
general public.
Prior to review.
Even after review,
I wouldn't want evals.
that's
no,
closed session.
closed session.
Maybe Bob.
There you go.
Yeah. One of Robert's
I mean,
last
that's just a
jobs.
suggestion.
Yes. Are you okay
Yeah.
with that,
Sure,
Bob?
that'd be fine.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you for that suggestion.
You're welcome.
Okay, then we will go to G, court discussion.
I was told to put this on, I don't know
Yes.
necessarily
What-
what,
What I think we wanted to discuss was what kind of reports we wanted to come in from the court.
right.
What is everyone looking at?
Yeah, I was thinking that this was, we had given them a budget extension for this time period, and they decided not to use it. And we put this on for a discussion as to how to proceed. Because
And because we're still missing the information.
we still have not received
Right.
the information that we requested, that we granted the additional funds for them to demonstrate the ability to provide and show progress. And they decided not to do anything in the time period for their own, for the reasons that they've disclosed, but it wasn't something that that during the discussion was presented that they had the option to take this money and use it at a different time. So, what did we want to do moving forward with that? I think that was the reason this went on.
What kind of reports we want, what we want on the reports. I think, Shauna, you had some questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still curious as to how many files there actually are and how many have been resolved and how many have been moved. I mean, part of this whole extra time was to move the tickets from one system to the other system, which allowed us to collect it faster. And we still don't have a number of how many files exist or how many have been moved. I mean, we don't have real numbers based on how much was collected or the aging of those items. I mean, there's a lot of open-ended questions at this point, and if we were going to move it to the other collection system with the intent that that was going to get us our funds faster, I'm surprised that there's no movement on that, or that they wouldn't have partaken in the first quarter of using that time. So I know we've had discussions about how court was pushed off, and that created a whole nother bundle of extra tasks, but it just seems that we have a lot of money out there that's not being accounted for, and there's information that isn't being provided.
And
So
some information was included with that letter that the judge gave us last.
but it was very vague.
Yeah.
It was strictly dollars.
But I agree with you, it wasn't detailed enough.
What do we have access to, or do we have to request it directly
Well,
from?
so we can ask her for a quarterly report, and depending on what we're asking for, some of the stuff is open. I mean, is available to us through open records requests. Depending on how much detail you want, I mean, I don't think any of us are looking for names or anything.
Just numbers.
So like
right.
using Shauna's
So-
idea of, we define the columns of what we want,
Right.
and then they give us the data within those
We might have
set.
to do open records regardless, so that's just how it could be if we need
But
to.
you
but
took
if-
notes of everything that was requested last time that we were
Right.
asking for. Like, I mean, the original theory in my head, as the accounting person that I am, is here's the number of cases, tickets, whatever. This is their age, and this is a dollar value. This is the number of tickets. This is the age. This is dollar value. This is, this is 30 to 60, 60 to 90, 90 to 120. And then how many of those are being moved every month? What is the dollar value of those, and how many have been moved? Because the discussion was it takes 5 minutes to move it from this old system to the new system. Well, to me, if I break that down at 10 minutes even, we should have, at this point, progressed much further than we have. So I just want to break down, because I'd like to see progression, right?
Yep.
Us moving forward.
Yeah, what I
Wasn't the-
wrote down for notes was we wanted the number outstanding, how many moved into the system, and a spreadsheet on that.
On the age.
So.
We need the
those-
aging and dollar value of
Yeah,
those.
like 0 to 30, 30
Yeah.
to 60, 60.
I want DSO. I want a days outstanding.
And then, as far as, I guess maybe we weren't very clear on the, this is the first quarter, this is what we're gonna do. I don't know if it just the caseload was later the first quarter. I guess that's where maybe there's some confusion too that came in that, well, it's later, so I'm still able to get this done. We just don't have the data that shows that it's moving along.
I thought the discussion was that it seemed like there was more to do because the court was getting pushed off, so she had to do the notices again, and that was making more work on
And
that
that's my
end.
understanding too.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Except we still need to have a report, because even if, in my head, even if I'm really busy at work, I still have to do my report. And even if I don't progress as fast as I'd like to, those are mitigating circumstances, right, that you put in there. So at this point, if we would have had something that said, okay, this is where we were and we didn't make the progress that we were looking at, but it's because of this mitigating and this mitigating and this mitigating, I'd be more willing to understand pushing the extra hours going forward. But right now, with no baseline,
No, and I
It's
agree
hard
with you,
to
Shauna. I
approve.
just want to be sure that when when Nathan, you're communicating that, whatever we can obtain, if it means we have to do an open record request to obtain some of the data, great, then let's do it. I mean, it's open record.
it's in their benefit to
Yeah.
provide us that data, because it helps us make a decision to be able to give them what they're asking for, as long as we're seeing progression.
Right, but my recollection is you increased the budget,
Mhm.
but it for 3 months
Yes.
potentially.
Yes.
We did a
Yes.
one-time budget increase for the first quarter,
And expecting that there'd be a report at this point in time,
Yes.
and there's no report.
right, which would justify the request for additional funding.
Exactly.
Yes,
And, you know, so you're obligated under law to provide the court funds to operate. But that was the whole question is, are these funds needed, necessary for your operation? And so you did an interim funding, saying at the end of 3 months, we're gonna review it. So to me, we don't need to be making, you know, public record requests here. It's simply,
yeah.
you come forward with this information by a certain date, or we're not gonna extend the funding, because you haven't shown a need for the court.
They delayed use of the funding.
Yeah, the memo we
So
got,
there's only, their plan
Weird.
is to use it in the second quarter because they were, according to them, were backlogged from the last year.
Except that wasn't the
Well,
agreement.
Yeah, that
I,
wasn't,
I agree. I'm just-
And-
That was what they communicated, so
But-
they didn't use those hours.
Okay, but then there should
Yes.
be, okay, but then there should be a substantiation of that fact.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, they should have provided a baseline,
What
this is
they're
where we
doing.
were, and
Yeah.
here's the mitigating reasons. So we'd like to push it to second quarter,
Yes,
so that, I mean,
absolutely.
there's nothing provided at
Right,
this point.
absolutely, but I don't think we have to go to them with, you know, freedom of information requests where you have the, you're providing the money for this, and
And
it's a
to be honest-
reasonable request to show where it's going.
To be honest,
We're
Barbara,
not
I,
asking for names of
No,
people,
no,
we're just
no.
asking for the number outstanding.
and dollar value
Nathan,
of
why do you
that.
feel we need to do an open, do you feel like
Because
because,
you have a single employee who is governed outside of you and is governed by another entity who is outside of your purview. So if that person doesn't want to hand over certain information to us in a form that we want, we might have to do an open records request. That was the reason that the idea was, because you're putting an employee in an odd position to give us that information against what their department head says.
And that's fine,
Right.
but I think that we need to set a standard that this is something that we're requesting quarterly, because this isn't a one-time request. This is knowledge that we as a village should know what we have outstanding at any given point and how old it is, and the efforts being put forth for the money we're spending to retrieve those funds.
Here's my last point, I would say that the request is to the department head.
Yeah.
It's not to the employee.
Right.
Yes.
I think we've already detailed what we wanted. I don't see the point in detailing what we want again. We've detailed it, we provided them what they asked for in exchange for us detailing what we wanted to see, and they decided not to show us. I mean, that's where we're at. We said, we will give you a funding, additional funding. We want to see these reports.
Yeah, but they have till the end of this month, the first quarter, to justify the additional expense for the second quarter.
So I would argue that if they don't justify it by the end of the month,
Right,
that they lose the funding going
They
into the
lose
next.
the opportunity.
But they still have to provide that information quarterly, because that's what we're requesting.
Right.
That's our request.
So are we looking for this at the next board meeting, which would be April
Yeah, it would
1st?
be the first April,
And-
first part of April,
But
yeah.
I would provide them, once again, the information that's being requested and say, here you go. I
Have it
mean, this is
ready.
this is the last
Nothing.
hurrah.
Let's give it to them in writing,
Yep.
Yep.
to the department head.
Yeah.
You can copy the employee, but ultimately.
Okay,
what's
so is
the-
this something that Nathan can do, or would you have to do this, Bob?
No, Nathan,
Nathan should be able to do
Okay,
it.
it's administrative.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Are we all in agreement?
Mhm.
April
Yeah.
1st, we would like this report.
That is our next board meeting?
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Kidding.
Okay, we'll go to I, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? And we may not discuss them. Does anyone have anything? No? We'll go to 9, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer. Is there anything from Jane?
The audit was finished, and it's good so far. So
Okay,
that's all we were told.
okay. Then we'll move to B, director of public works.
Just one, We Energies is well on their way converting all the street lights to LED. I don't think, and you probably noticed it driving around town, there's been somebody putting them up. So it looks, to me, it looks better. It's changed from the dingy yellow to bright red. Some people may not like it, but again, we're expecting a $200,000 return on our investment over 10 years. So our monthly electric bill should be dropping. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, that would be nice. That's just,
Any questions for Carl?
Was that number accurate on that website that you sent out? 290,000
oh,
in the email?
probably.
Okay.
What
When
we
it's
talked
all
about,
down
yeah.
or somewhere.
No, I had that form from the We Energies comparing current.
No. Yeah, the email from the COVID. The email that you sent
Oh,
out.
yeah.
From the recent
Yeah.
stimulus
Well,
package.
the-
We're still looking into,
It's in my report.
yeah.
Oh, it's in yours?
You'll
Okay.
know.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about lights.
No, I was talking about the thing.
Anything else for Carl? If not,
Oh,
C,
sorry.
police chief.
Kind of a whole lot going on. We're dealing with the siren yet. The board, like I said, the board was taken down in Milwaukee. They pulled it almost 100 times and pulled every time. We get back into the box and it fails. So I've been working with Paula Reeder and Melissa. They seem to think maybe now it's got something to do with the radio. We're not sure who's responsible for the radio portion of it. They're saying that maybe we should look at tuning the radio, and a lot of times that will fix the problem. But seriously, what we think the problem is that when it comes to our time for that pager test, it doesn't get to whatever tower it's going to and gets back in time, and it moves on to the next one. So when I talked to Melissa this morning, they said that they were gonna start doing the audible siren test at noon, starting the first weekend in April. So Carl and I have been kind of talking back and forth. Do we wait till and see if that's, because if they do a pole test all by itself, without it running from village to city to, it goes on to the next one afterwards, then they do the poll and everything comes back fine. So we clearly think that it's not getting enough time to get there and back. So
If this is a problem and we're in the process of trying to fix it, we're kind of getting to that time of year, do we want to let citizens know that the siren may not be their primary source of?
well, and tomorrow, I ran out of time today because it was getting too late, but I'm gonna contact, Mike from Faith Technology. Apparently he would be the one, we're gonna find out how much it costs. If it's just a minimal charge for him to come out and do that, maybe that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, when we agreed to take over the siren, this was our worst,
Yep.
nightmare. This thing would nickel and dime us to death,
And it's
again,
been
we don't even know if the
problems
problem's
ever
ours.
Yeah,
So-
and we have citizens though that don't have weather radios. And so I guess I just would want to make sure we're communicating that, and obviously they may not even have social media, but I just would,
Right.
that kind of worries me a little bit that we may have some severe weather and people rely on that.
I put some of the flyers out on the board, so that, for the notification system, how they can sign up for that. So I put some of those out today and,
And that's not always either, because I've gotten that sometimes, I think it was 12 or 13 minutes after the siren went off,
and last year, in the Village Voice, we put it in there. We've had, where I've come in, I was doing presentations to the elderly, we gave them, pieces of paper with that information on there and everything, so,
It could go in the grab-and-go lunches again,
Yeah.
too. That might be another,
that would be a
because
good idea.
they're willing to put flyers in
Put
those.
that in there next
Something.
Wednesday and get that information out, because they're getting quite a few of them.
Because I get it, it's getting fixed, or we're working on figuring out the problem, but we're also kind of heading into that time of year
Yes.
where this
Good
may
for
be
the-
really detrimental.
So does the response keep the siren from actually sounding, or is it just failing the test?
Well, that's just it,
That's, yeah.
If the board
We
is
just-
good,
yeah.
and if can pull it individually and it operates, it tells me there's some kind of a delay
Yes.
issue here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if the
And
board
that's
is
a radio
good,
signal?
you should probably still, it should probably still sound.
And that's, you know, when they start doing the test at noon on Saturdays, you know, I always have the officers making sure that they're listening, you know, they call me, if they don't hear it, then we know we have a problem.
Any other communities, have you heard, have any like problems or
New
not?
London,
Yeah.
yeah, and they said that they were having constant, with one of their sirens, it was just constant that they were having problems with it. They said they just finally stopped sending them, they didn't want to get the emails every day that your siren failed, because it was sounding when it needed to sound.
Yeah, is there a way that we can get them to do a test to see if it'll sound? So in place of our Saturday
Yeah, we do.
afternoon, we have them send a signal even though they don't get the bounce and then make sure that our siren goes off?
We do that when they're out there, they give us a growl,
Okay,
so, we had one
Couple weeks
a
ago.
couple weeks ago.
and that
So,
comes all the
we're
way
out
from the
there.
same system,
Yeah.
they're just not getting the response back, so
Right.
siren is sounding?
Right,
Okay,
it would be no different than, you know, if they're in the comm center and they tell them to.
They just don't see that
set
it's
the siren
sounding.
off, right,
it sounds, but they just don't see it on their end.
and we had neighbors call,
Okay,
everything okay, you know, so, and it was just like a little growl,
It was.
but,
It was just a little blip.
so we know that it's,
What?
we know it sounds,
yeah, I thought maybe
The batteries
you
are
could
all
maybe do
good.
it in place of the Saturday
Yeah.
noon one. Say, hey, can we do a test on Saturday and actually fully blow the horn
yeah.
and see if it works the way it's supposed to. If they just don't get the message, then we should be safe in terms of notification, but just still troubleshooting the issue.
Yeah, I still think we should have that radio tune. It's basically, they adjust the quartz or something like
Yeah.
that. But I think we should go ahead and invest in that. We budget $1,000 a year. It costs about $300 a year to keep the battery packs warm in there. The rest is maintenance money. So, I
We
mean, we
have
should
no-
do it regardless
Yeah.
where it comes in.
And when we signed the 2-year contract with Sheboygan, the first year we pay for the maintenance, the second year is free. So that they come out and do the inspection. Cause they do an annual inspection of it.
But we'll have to pay Faith directly to do the
To
radio.
do the, yes.
Yeah. And we need to know, one way or another.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Anything else?
Yep, one other thing, the new squad came in, so we should have that probably completed by Friday, we're hoping, and then the, old one, the DPW is taking over. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Any questions for Chris? If not, we'll move to D, Library Director.
Just a few things. We are opening on Monday for people to come into the library again. Masks required. We are also offering curbside, so we won't get rid of that. We're talking about potentially adding Saturdays back in soon. Just kind of looking at how stats go with people coming in and what's needed. The Friends of the Appleton Library applied for an IMLS grant that provided at least 2 laptops to every library in Owls, so just Waupaca and Outagamie counties, for us to circulate laptops to people who don't have some sort of computing device at home. There also is a survey in each time we circulate it to see, do you have broadband access, do you have Wi-Fi, do you have internet? Because there's a really big push on a national level to get broadband and Wi-Fi and internet to rural places that don't have that access. So I'm working on cataloging those and putting those in the computer system to get those out into the community.
Do they have limitations on them so people can't just add software?
They do, so
Okay.
they've got everything that our staff computers have in terms of the software and the protection, just more mobile.
I just want to get it back and have it like 1,800
Yeah,
apps on it or
Exactly.
non-licensed software or something.
exactly, yeah. We are also resuming collections, as well as resuming overdue fees. During the pandemic and while most libraries were closed, that ability was kind of on the back burner. So we are resuming that again. I had 7 accounts that I had to send to collections this week. So it's starting again. Once your account hits $50, you're sent to collections, and they are very nice. The people there that do the collections are very nice people. Usually we get the items back instead of the money, which we would actually rather have the items rather than the funds. And that, it looks like that's what I've got.
Any questions for Ally?
How many bookshelves do you have left?
Like 5.
Good job.
Out of 192,
Way to go.
I'll
Way to
take
go.
it. I'll take that.
Good job. Okay, we'll move to E, attorney.
I have nothing new on 321 Lakeview. I didn't get a chance to talk to Nathan. You know, if you learn something new, you can mention it. But,
Just, it's in my thing,
so I have nothing else.
just saying that April 6th, we're on the finance committee
Okay,
for the county, so.
very good. That's all I have.
Okay. F, administrator.
I printed off a report for you guys. The bottom one is, bottom comment is the $298,000 that the federal government is giving Hortonville for, basically it's relief of revenues from COVID. Has very limited ability right now from what I've read from that the Senate put out. It's not as, you can't use it for a lot of the things that I've been reading in the news articles. So we're gonna kind of wait and see till we get more information on what we can actually use to apply it. Cause if you use it in something, in some way that we can't use it, then we have to pay them the whole amount back. So, we're just waiting right now. Basically, the Senate said that, their article kind of just said that it's either for revenues that were lost during that year, could be used for water and sewer infrastructure or broadband infrastructure. Otherwise, emergency essential worker pay. Probably not gonna do, so. Probably a lot of it would end up going into infrastructure for water and sewer, other than our expenses, or lost revenues.
Thank you. I got a spin already. We'll find, we just have to make sure, we don't wanna make a wrong move.
Right.
Any questions for Nathan?
What about the setup interviews for?
Oh, we actually got them already set up, for the 5th of April.
April 5th?
Yep.
And what time for sure?
The first one starts at 4:30. The other two haven't responded yet. I left them a message today, so.
Okay.
Do you have something ready for that as far as questions and
I
are
have-
working with
yeah.
Mike?
I gotta work with Mike to do some more specific questions for that job. I have generalized questions for department heads as well.
Okay,
So, yeah, I can work with Mike on that.
okay, thanks.
Yep.
We'll go to G, building permit report, there's none. 10, communications and miscellaneous business. A, Black Otter Lake District News.
I don't have any updates tonight.
Okay. B, Hortonville Hortonia Fire District News.
Nothing.
Okay. D, Hortonville Civic Association.
None.
Okay. E, Senior Activities Committee.
We meet April 1st for our next meeting. Grab and Go is continuing through June, I believe. So, that's all I have on
All
that.
right, thank you. 11, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Yes, Al?
For Lori's sake, Al Hobbit, 215 Lakeview Avenue. At the safety meeting, I questioned the county's proposal. The reason was, in 2017, I went and got a proposal for them, and they gave 4 full-time officers at $550,000. Now they're proposing 6 for about $50,000 more. That's where I questioned it. So I went and compared what per officer was in the proposal here compared to what other communities are, and our proposal is less than what the other communities are paying. If these other communities are paying more, why is our proposal less? In our other objects on there, less. So in a year from now, if we go with them and ours are gone, and we can't afford to get them back, is the county's going to skyrocket. This is something that has to also be contemplated when this is further discussed by the board.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? Yes?
Joanne Miller, I can give my name and address and all that stuff. Joanne Miller, it's MUPLL, 215 South Nash. Okay. As a resident of this village for 48 years, okay, where we live, there's so much traffic. And I see our police officers patrolling all the time. They have come so far in this day and age with relating to our community, especially the kids at the schools, because they're there, and the kids know them, and they respect them. And the way the world is going right now, where everyone is just bashing the police officers, and I don't care if it's county, I don't care, you know, who it is. To me, it's so important that we do not lose this connection. The kids have this trust factor with our police department. And then to start all over again, are we opening a kettle of worms and opening ourselves up for more problems and troubles with our youth? The other thing is when there is an emergency, and again, from where I live, I always see the officers go past. There's always two. One directs traffic, and one kind of keeps all of everything else in control, whether it be the ambulance, the fire trucks, anything like that. They're overseeing all of this for our protection. And nothing against the county, but can they offer that also? And the other thing is more personal. Thank you so much for not eating in front of us today. I find that extremely, extremely rude to eat in front of people that are here. Thank you, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak?
Are we allowed to say anything?
Pardon?
Are we allowed to say anything here?
No.
Okay.
If not, we will move on then to 12. We need to appoint a session minute taker. I will appoint, or make a motion to appoint Shauna. Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session under state statute 19.85, deliberating or negotiating purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting any other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Peter?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. We now go to 14, 5 minutes recess to clear the meeting room. 17, any action on matters discussed in closed session?
No, we voted on it.
Do we have to do this in open, at least do a vote to do the proposal?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, with that being said, there's none. We will ask for an adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned.
She didn't give anyone